Round 14 of the EFL Championship was full of surprises, with some huge results heading the way of some big teams in the Championship. Southampton finally picked up a victory, Birmingham City absolutely battered Millwall, and Derby County win their 4th game in a row. We cannot forget Blackburn Rovers, who are also on a winning streak of 3 games. It's been a huge week of Championship football, and we head into the final game before the international break with some huge games as well. Someone's O will have to go as Derby County face Blackburn. Obviously, both could go. You also then look at some other big games like Coventry City taking on Stoke City in a top of the table clash. But who is going to come out on top? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments if you have not done so already. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. But let's get into it. Now, starting off round 15, Watford host Bristol City. Now, Bristol City haven't been in the best of form over the course of the last week or so, and I think it's something that everybody needs to take into account. And John Eustace, Derby County's manager, said something, I think it was in his pre-match press conference heading into the game versus Hull City, basically saying in a 3-game week you can easily go 3 defeats on the spin, and that's what Bristol City are potentially going to do. Now, they've not won in their last 2 games. They've lost up against Stoke City and against Blackburn Rovers, and they face up against a Watford side who have won 2 of their last 4. Obviously, there is a defeat in there. Obviously, drew in midweek as well against Ipswich Town. But Watford, are definitely on the better side of things when it comes to this game versus Bristol City. Now, for me, I can only see this going one way. I think Bristol City are on a little bit of a downward spiral at the moment. And for me, Watford are going to win this game. It's going to be 1-0, but who is going to be your scorer? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Now, the early kickoff on Saturday sees Blackburn host Derby County in a huge anniversary game for Blackburn Rovers. Now, we'll see a range of former Blackburn Rovers players and staff return to the ground, with Derby County's coaching team all ex-Blackburn, as well as a range of players like Dion Sanderson, Owen Beck, Lewis Travis, Andy Vyman and Danny Bott, all previously playing for Blackburn Rovers. There's also Ben Brereton Diaz, who has also played for them as well. But it's going to be really interesting to see how this one does shake out. Now, both teams are in incredible form. Blackburn Rovers have won 3 of their last 5 games, and that's 3 in a row for Blackburn Rovers. Derby County, 4 of their last 5. 4 in a row for them, and things really seem to be clicking into gear for both of these 2 sides. But as Ewood Park gets set to host Blackburn versus Derby County, who is going to come out on top? Now, for me, I think on these emotional occasions, I think you often see players sort of cower, especially for the main team. I think if you go back a couple of years to Derby County, the day of the March, where they faced up against Birmingham City, the first 70 or so minutes of that game, Derby County were absolutely diabolical. They did come back to draw 2-2, but I think we could see a similar occasion here for Blackburn Rovers. Now, for me, if Derby County score first, Derby County will win this game. I've got a feeling Derby County are going to win and keep a clean sheet. And for me, I'm saying that Derby County are going to win 2-0 and are going to go into the international break off the back of 5 wins in a row. But obviously, you can let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. I know Blackburn fans will have their say as well. And Hull City, they host Portsmouth in what is a huge game as one of the early kickoffs. And I think we've got to be really open and honest about Pompey so far this season. And I'm going to be completely honest, I just don't quite think it's been good enough. Now, it is one of those games where it gives Pompey the opportunity to break their no-win run, essentially. They're 5 without win as it stands right now. They did pick up a good draw last night. I think it was against Wrexham, if I remember correctly. And I don't know. I think you've got to take the leap of faith here as a Portsmouth fan. And is John Mousinho the man to take you forward? I'm not entirely sure. I do think he will start to become under increasing pressure if he doesn't improve over the course of the next few weeks. But as it stands right now, I think he's okay. But for this game, Hull City, not back-to-back defeat, one defeat for them in their last 5 games. That was up against Derby County midweek, which came from a goalkeeper error, no more so. I'll put the video on screen now of the goal. Keeper comes out, makes a silly decision and slides, loses the ball to Andreas Fire, and it falls to Jorgen Selverson into the back of the net. And what a goal it was, by the way. Very good finish from Selverson. But for me, this game is going to end 1-1. Now, Millwall, they host Preston North End, and Millwall have been on a decent run recently. They did lose in midweek up against Birmingham City, and they got absolutely battered. It was 4-0 Birmingham, who really seem to have turned themselves around over the course of the last 3 or 4 games. And it's really interesting to see. Now, I'm not saying that Millwall aren't going to go and win this game up against Preston North End, but it's going to be interesting. It's a top 6 clash as it stands right now. Preston on the back of 3 wins on the spin. Millwall off the back of defeat. How is this going to go? For me, I don't know what it is about Preston. I just can't see them losing. And for me, 2-1 victory for Preston North End. Now, next up, you have Middlesbrough hosting Birmingham City, which is a huge game for Middlesbrough. They haven't won in 3. They've dropped out of the top 2 and ultimately lost ground on the likes of Stoke City and Coventry City over the course of the last week or so. Now, they obviously face up against Birmingham side that have won 2 games in a row, 4-0 and 4-0. It's 8 goals, it's 2 clean sheets. You cannot complain about that, especially as a Birmingham City fan. But is that 4-0 winning streak going to come to an end? I certainly do believe so. I've got a feeling Middlesbrough will turn things around heading into this game. I think it's going to be a 1-0 win. I know there is some murmurs about Middlesbrough's manager potentially making the move to Wolverhampton Wanderers, but we're going to have to wait and see. And you can also let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. Now, Leicester City make the travel to Norwich City this weekend, and it's a huge game, in my opinion, for both sides. Norwich City have picked up their first point in a while in midweek with a good draw up against Sheffield Wednesday, as I sort of predicted that it would end a draw. And it's one of those for me where I do believe that Norwich City can turn this around. Do I think Liam Manning's the man to do it? I'm not entirely sure. But heading into this game against Leicester, Leicester City off the back of no winning 5 as well. So it's very interesting to sort of see how this is going to go. Now, for me, I do think this is where Leicester City turn their season around. I think it's going to be a 2-0 victory. They're going to go into the international break upon a really good performance up against a really poor team, and hopefully they can then turn things around. But you can obviously let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. Now, next up you have Sheffield United, who take on Queen's Park Rangers in what is a huge fixture in the EFL Championship. Both teams have lost 3 games in a row. Sheffield United obviously sitting in that relegation zone. Chris Wilder came in, made a couple of changes at Sheffield United, and it looked as if they were getting a little bit better. They won back-to-back games, and then since then it's just gone down and down and down. Now, do I think that Sheffield United get relegated this season? I'm not entirely sure, but there certainly is going to be a rip-up of the squad heading into January. Now, I think this game is going to end 0-0. I think both teams will pick up a point. I think it's going to be a very edgy game. 2 sides who aren't going to want to go in to the international break off the back of 4 losses in a row, because that's not exactly good for confidence now, is it? Now, in that same case, you've got Sheffield Wednesday, who head to Southampton, and that is going to be a huge game. Southampton recently sacked Will Still and picked up an incredible victory in midweek up against QPR, who head to Sheffield United, and it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. Now, Sheffield Wednesday picked up another point in midweek up against Norwich. Sheffield Wednesday, not United. And it's obviously a difficult season for them. Obviously, administration, they're on -4 points. They're, probably like 18 points away from safety, something like that at the moment. I think they're still sitting on -4. And it is going to be interesting to see how the rest of this season does go for them. But I can't see them getting anything out of this one. I think Southampton are in a new lease of life. 3-0 victory for Southampton for me, but you can obviously let me know your thoughts on that down below. Now, the top of the table clash, the one that we have all been waiting for. It's Stoke City and Mark Robins versus Frank Lampard and Coventry City, and who is going to come out on top. Now, obviously, Coventry had that loss up against Wrexham last week, 3-2 defeat. And obviously Stoke City lost against Millwall back on the 21st of October, but 3 wins in a row for them. A bounce back victory in midweek for Coventry City. This is going to be a very, very interesting one. I personally think it's going to end a draw. I think it's going to be 1-1 because I just think that's the best way for both of these two sides. Now, obviously, you can let me know your thoughts on that down below, but I can't see much changing at the top of the table. Now, Ipswich, they travel to Swansea City, and what is a huge game? Ipswich Town, unbeaten in 3, 2 wins and 1 draw. Swansea City, they've had 1 win in their last 5 games, 2 defeats and 2 draws. It's not looking too great for Swansea, but who is going to come out on top on this game? For me, I have got Ipswich Town. I think it's going to be a 3-1 victory. I think Ipswich have started to look a lot better recently. I know there's still a lot of development to do for Ipswich Town, but you go back to, I think it was Burnley under Vincent Kompany. After the first few weeks of the season, they were like 18th, 19th, and they quickly rose and ended up dominating the division. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen with Ipswich Town, but they're certainly heading in the right direction, in my opinion, and I do think they'll end up being a playoff team. Now, the next game is West Bromwich Albion versus Oxford, and Gary Rowett has had a very sort of iffy few weeks, to be quite honest. It's 2 wins in the last 5 against Derby County and Sheffield Wednesday, but defeats to Wrexham, defeats to Stoke and a draw to Millwall has ultimately meant that they're sitting just outside of the relegation zone. Now, realistically, there's a 4-point gap between 22nd and 21st, which is Oxford, and then you sort of look up the division, and the points gap that was there a couple of days ago, which I probably spoke about in the previous video, has now sort of disappeared again. There was a 4-point gap. There now isn't that gap. That gap is now down to the relegation places. But from 21st to 6th place is just 10 points. That is 3 victories. 3 or 4 victories, isn't it, at the end of the day? And if everybody else loses, you find yourself in the playoff positions. Now, for me, I do think Oxford will come out on top of this game. West Brom haven't been in good form either. It's 3 defeats in their last 4 with a draw to Sheffield Wednesday in there. And they have been very poor under Ryan Mason recently. And I do think that his job is definitely under pressure, especially when you look at the way their fans are looking at this situation. But we're going to have to wait and see how that progresses. But for me, I've got Oxford United 2, West Bromwich Albion 1. And the final game of the weekend is Wrexham hosting Charlton Athletic. Now, Charlton Athletic have been unbelievable at the start of this season. Now, their form has continued over the course of recent weeks. They're now 5 unbeaten yet again, with 3 wins and 2 draws, including a last-minute winner against West Brom just this midweek, which was a huge game. Now, Wrexham have started picking up some decent results as well. A win against Oxford, a win against Coventry, and also 2 draws against Middlesbrough and Pompey puts them in a really, really good position, sitting there in 14th in the table. Now, obviously, you can let me know your thoughts on this prediction down in the comments, but for me, I've got Wrexham United 2, Charlton Athletic 2. I just think both sides have the ability to get something out of this game, and it's definitely going to be a high scoring one. But you can let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye, guys.